Hello there and welcome. This is Point of View. I'm Mark Leishman. And one of the major issues facing farmers is dealing with mounting financial pressures. So to help, a series of new pilot workshops is being run by the Dairy Women's Network with support from the NZCA, Figured and Xero. And my guest is a farm financial specialist and the Figured CEO, and that's Dave Dodds. Dave, welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you very much for having us. Yeah. Great to be here.
Tell us about your background.
I've had offshore roles and roles here, big and small companies, but I joined Figured about 5 years ago because I thought this intersection of technology and farming was just the best place to be in the New Zealand market, really. There's nothing better. And with this mission of helping farmers be better financial managers, which I think is still important.
So tell us about Figured. What is Figured and who are Figured?
Yeah, so Figured, it's a New Zealand-based company, obviously started here, started in Fielding, it's now run out of Auckland. And our purpose is to help farmers be better financial managers and to get better returns from their farm. We've done quite well in New Zealand over the last 5 to 6 years. We've got around about 1,500 farms 15,000 farms in New Zealand, and we're in Australia, the UK, Ireland and the US. So we're taking, I think, the good news story from here and globally as well. Yeah.
So and the program is focused on farming.
It's purely for farmers. So it's essentially builds on top of Xero and provides management sort of views of how your farm is performing, and enables you to sort of schedule out what the future might look like under certain operating scenarios, certain farm plans, and it helps you create and run a better financial plan for your business, for your farming business, and through that process get a better return from the hard work that's farming.
So it's based on the Xero platform?
It's based on the Xero platform, which, as you probably know, is successful in itself. And that in itself is liberating a hell of a lot of time around keeping accounts up to date, understanding your financial position, but we bring the farm specifics on top of that. So what does this mean from dollars per kilogram of milk solids at a spend level, or dollars per cow, dollars per hectare, and so on, and then being able to model that out into the future as well.
And it was all developed here?
Yeah, developed here, Kiwi company. Yeah. Look, it's really interesting. I was just talking to some people in Holland today that have done a market scan. I think we're probably the best in the world at this. So we're pretty proud of that. But still got a lot to do and a lot more to build.
There are other opponents, as you were, globally?
Of course there are. Always. You don't want to be in a market of one. I think that's an unstable thing. That means that's not a very big problem to solve, is it? Yeah. So of course it's there's plenty of competitors, and that's a good thing. And
what's the take-up of internationally? Is it sort of just continuing to grow?
It's going well. Look, it's different in different markets. We're at different phases. The very interesting thing about New Zealand and Australia particularly is because we don't have subsidies, I think farmers are more aware of their financial position. Not enough yet, but there's more farmers that are farming for profit. And therefore are interested in financial management. If you get into markets that are heavily subsidised, it's less so.
When you say farming for profit, I mean, as opposed to being subsidised,
is
that what you
they've got to actually get a return out of their work, don't they?
Whereas in the Northern Hemisphere, they know they're going to get the cheque anyway.
Well, they basically have a checklist of things they've got to do to get the subsidy, and they do that. So it's an interesting sort of idea. So I know sometimes we might feel disadvantaged as a rural community around that, but I think you look at the quality of farming, I don't think so.
So what are the main financial pressures facing farmers?
Well, things aren't any different. Farming's a volatile game, isn't it? It's you're subject to weather and commodity fluctuations, and then of course obviously the whims of various regulatory pressures have always come and gone, and so it's it's an interesting game to get a sort of a real handle on, but we believe that by controlling the controllables, you can really get there, and there's those things which you can manage, and you really need to manage those well because so many of the other things aren't under your control. So,
what sort of things are you referring to there with the controllables?
Well, even some of the controllables is where do you think you want your financial performance to be in 10 years' time? What would be the return you're looking for from all of this hard work, and how do you actually plan to get that? And I think that's more taking ownership of your financial future and your financial performance and taking that mindset into that. And I think that's really important. And we've built a solution, and we've got a network of advisors and partners like DWN that help us get to that. So, I think in the end, the way you can best absorb the shocks that come in all of the farming piece is by having wriggle room in your financial plan, right? Then you've got the ability to have the shock absorbers.
Yes.
So being able to create those shock absorbers, I think, is quite important when you're looking at how to run a farm.
So what are the greatest concerns that farmers face?
Oh, look, I think it's across. If you look at it from a financial perspective, let's look at that one first. I think it's, we hear a lot from farmers that talk about, where will I be in 10 years' time? Can we get that succession plan built? Will the next generation be taking it over? Am I going to, am I moving forward? Can I get to that next phase, whatever they're looking at? Now, I think those concerns are, I think they're talked about more than they used to be. I think it used to be, how are we going right now, this minute, this season? And I think people are starting to sort of look out a bit more. Yeah. So I think that's
is a biggie, isn't it? Really,
tricky one,
especially now with not so many of the children actually wanting to take on.
No, that's exactly right. So it's a really interesting issue, isn't it? And how do you get the farm into a financial position where it can essentially sustain another loan, so mum and dad can get off the farm and have the lifestyle they need, while the farm can still sustain that sort of generational change. So it's a tricky one, all right.
It is indeed. Being financially secure, what does that mean for farmers?
That's really interesting. So we sort of see it in three parts. The first one is sort of, where are we now? And if you can imagine, go back to being a child and you're in a dark room, it can be quite scary, right? Because you feel a little bit spooked. You turn the light on, it's fine, isn't it? All of a sudden it's only that. And so we think in the first part of getting this right is shining a light on your numbers, because quite often farmers worry about things that they actually haven't really shone a light on yet, and they're more worried about what they don't know than what they actually know, and what they suspect might be true, and quite often it's not. So shining a light on your current financial performance is really important, and you'll find that it's quite often not as scary as they might think it is, and I don't really sort of want to talk about the mental health aspects too much, but actually I think that's a significant contributor to some of the mental wellness sort of issues in the agricultural sector, is people not quite being aware that they're probably okay.
Yeah.
Things are probably more manageable than they realised. Yeah. Turn the light on, it's not so scary.
Yeah.
So that's the first part. I think the second part is then, where do you want to be in the longer term? So actually set some financial goals. Set, this is my ambition. Every farmer has an ambition for their farm, but do they have an ambition for their financial performance? There's less of those. Yeah. So we think they should have an ambition for what that should return to them, and what it should do for their lifestyle in the future and their options in the future, whether that be more farm expansion, succession, whatever. And then once you know where you're going, then okay, what do we do now to help drive towards that, and regularly review that position.
So do you actually figured? I would assume it's a computer-based program that you just log on and.
Yeah, those things on the computer, eh?
Do you meet people though? I mean, obviously you do.
Yeah, sure we do. Yeah, no, of course. You can't. We obviously need to meet people to understand the problems we're trying to solve.
So you have a consultation first up.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but importantly, we aren't providing financial advice and guidance, right? We provide a platform or a system that really allows farmers and their financial advisors, particularly accountants or other financial advisors, their lenders often, because obviously access to capital is interesting. There's another little conversation to have about that. And often their farm consultants will be on the same platform around, this is the financial performance of the farm. So they're all talking about the same thing. Yeah. And this is the farm's plan, and this is where it's heading. Yeah. So once we can get that team together, that's super powerful, because all of a sudden, they've got access to advisors, straight away. So really we see Figured as being a system that connects what we call the farming team, so that we've got advisors helping farmers on this journey around better financial management.
And then just a matter of working out how to work the
Well, yeah, which buttons to push, yeah. That's not the hard part. Really, it's the financial disciplines which are probably the more interesting things. Once you've got those, the software itself isn't a big deal.
Yeah. So I know you talk about controllables, the ones that are, I suppose, the uncontrollable, of course, things like weather events.
Yes, weather, yeah, that's right.
Droughts, etc., which we're facing facing at the moment, which obviously has a huge impact on financial planning. You can't plan for it.
No, but can you? Yeah, yeah. Maybe you can mitigate. Exactly right. And I'd more use that term of building in shock absorbers into your farming business. One might be access to capital or short-term capital, right? If you need short-term capital, but do you have the numbers at your fingertips? Do you have the access to advisors? Can you talk to your farm consultant and say, this is my financial position and this is what the drought's mean? Can you actually do that? So, all of those things will help.
So the positives in terms of, for strong financial planning?
Well, I think it's really, I'm probably going to repeat myself, it really is taking control of your future, and we think farmers deserve it. This kind of drives me quite, there's quite a sort of strong drive in me personally that I talk to farmers and I talk to their advisors and we, all of this hard work, and yet where are they going? Where do they want to be? And I think that's a real positive if you can unlock that, this is where I'm heading. I think it's going to be a really positive thing. So and certainly the farmers that have got this under control, they live a better life. They are living a better life. They've got more support around them, they've got more certainty, they've got less concerns, less doubts, less stress, probably a bit more joy as well,
Well, just as we come to the end of our first part, the link with the Dairy Women's Network, how did that come about?
Well, we've always been really interested in the Dairy Women's Network as a community of people, obviously, but at the same time as we've been building our business and building our capability, Dairy Women's Network have been getting more interested in this area of financial management for their network as well. So those two things just naturally came together. I think we share similar interests in this area. We want to see farmers, and obviously in Dairy Women's case, dairy farmers, enjoy greater financial success, and we share that goal. So that's pretty easy, right? To work together.
We'll have a chat about the workshops, etc., and what's coming up. Sure. But in the next part. But to my guest, Dave Dodds, who's the CEO of Figured, and of course is involved in this new venture, which is intriguing. We'll find out more about it after the break. You're watching Point of View on Country TV. Welcome back. This is Point of View. I'm Mark Leishman. My guest, Dave Dodds, who's the CEO of Figured. And Dave, we're talking about these workshops coming up, which we will have a look at the dates for those later on. But can you tell us how to get started? What does a farmer do? What works, why, and what doesn't work?
Yeah, look, I think the best place to start is get your financial sort of support around you, your financial management team. Maybe talk to your accountant. Get that part together. I think secondly is don't be afraid to set goals about where you want to go, and embed that sort of thinking of goal setting, into a day-to-day practice in your farm. Not day-to-day, but close to it. It's got to be a sort of common, repeatable practice. Where am I heading financially? And the third part is review your performance on a regular basis, and do that with your support team. You don't need to do it by yourself. These solutions allow your team to be very connected with how you're performing. We were talking before about, on Xero, you can just ring up your accountant, they know where you are. Yes. And it's the same on Figured in Xero. You just enable that team to work really efficiently with you. So start there, I think.
What doesn't work and why?
Well, I think what doesn't work is doing nothing. Thinking
it'll go away.
Thinking it'll go away. Yeah, that idea of it looks hard, I'm uncertain, I just want to leave that alone, because it's that's not a great practice. So
is that a common practice?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think in the end you're running a business.
And it's quite a big business too, isn't it? There's a lot of value in the asset.
Huge business, actually. And we should be proud of that as farmers. But a pretty standard business practice is setting budgets and reviewing your performance against that. And there's a reason why that's a standard practice, because it improves your performance. So don't do nothing. The second thing is, if you don't have the native skills yourself, don't try and do it by yourself. And we tend to be, farmers are pretty roll your sleeves up, give it a crack kind of people. But I think we're getting better at getting advice, seeking connections. It's no longer, but farming isn't something you do by yourself. It hasn't been for quite a while in New Zealand particularly. So I think continuing to work that on the financial level as well. Find a good financial partner to work with who can give you good advice, connect it into how you're running your farm.
It's interesting actually that you're linked with the Dairy Women's Network, because
yes.
I imagine on a lot of farms it is the women who are sitting doing the books.
Yeah,
and the farmer, he's out there, doing the fencing.
Yes. That's
all the fun stuff.
It's sort of this operational back office piece. Yeah, it's quite often is the woman. I don't mean to be. That's a generalisation, of course, but and why we think that Dairy Women's Network is just an ideal partner, and we applaud them for bringing this forward.
Yeah. Now, embedding good financial management in your team, that's something you should endeavour to do.
Yeah.
And it says here, everyday action is vital. So is that just doing a little bit every day?
Yeah, whether it's sort of every day, let's say talk about it as a sort of a continuous thing. It's not something you should do once a year because the bank's asked you for a budget. That is just the wrong behaviour, and I think that's the way probably half of our farms operate today.
Even today?
Yeah, I think they do a budget because someone asked them to do a budget, not because they need one to run better businesses. So, take some time. It might be monthly or every couple of months where you're reviewing your financial performance. Oh, I've spent more than I thought here, less here. What does that mean? It's drier. I'm going to need more feed. How do I plan that out? Just get in control of it.
Yeah. It's fascinating, isn't it? I mean, it applies to everybody's lives, I suppose.
It sure
same sort of principle, isn't it, really?
It sure does. It's like going to the gym, though, right?
Yeah.
We think we should go. We all know we should go, but we don't always go. But
I feel like it today. Yeah.
But a personal trainer is a good idea, and similar.
Because there's a motivation there to do it. So your accountant and your team becomes your personal trainer, effectively. Yeah.
That's it.
And how many do you need in a team? I mean, you've got obviously your accountant. Do you need bank representation there?
I think we're moving away from. In fact, there was a fantastic case study we were looking at the other day where. The feedback of someone who'd been on Figured for a couple of years was saying it's changed from when my banker used to drive up the driveway, I would be sort of, oh no, to now this will be quite interesting because we're having a conversation on how to improve his business and what capital can do.
Because I might learn something here to actually make me richer, better off, improves my lifestyle.
And that's what access to capital is for, is so you can do the things you want to do. It does have the ability to change that relationship. There you go.
What are the banking, the environmental and the regulatory changes, employment changes? I mean, it's every week there's something more to worry about in that sense. What are the big ones we're looking at?
Well, obviously the big ones that we see that are relevant to us, well, they're all relevant because all of these, we've got obviously what I call sort of license to farm. There's more and more sort of things you have to do just to keep your ability to be a farmer. Environmental pressures, water use, land use, animal health, employment practices, etc., etc. So they're all there. But and of course the big one right at the moment is access to capital. So we are seeing the desire for capital and putting capital in from the banks is changing a little bit. Certainly their appetite has changed.
Can you explain how? What
well, we're just seeing that it's tightening. It's tightening. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a huge desire to grow some of their rural books. So I think the threshold has lifted on what they want to lend against.
Yeah.
But I can tell you one of the things that banks definitely look at is what is your behaviour and what is your approach to your money. It's they're not just looking at can you afford a loan. I think do you actually care about the way your money is used and your capital is used.
It's almost like I suppose another form of a credit rating, is it?
Yeah, well, it's they've always been looking at that. What's your behaviour? Yeah, not just your. So
if you get your loan and buy a Range Rover, then they might look at you twice.
Yeah, but also do you have a financial plan? Do you care about your financial plan? Those are all very important signals to lenders to say, well, actually, these people are going to be good. They will use this capital wisely, and it might be the right thing to do is invest it in equipment, but it's more about your approach. Yeah.
This is a bit off track, but the coronavirus, and what's happening in China, and how that's impacting here, because the demand for our product.
As it dived away. Well, we're already seeing it change on the prices, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, there's another event that was unforeseen 6 months ago, wasn't it? And suddenly this is a real roadblock.
Yeah, and we will all remember the prices of a few years ago in the dairy industry, right? So I don't think we're going there again. I mean, not that I'm an expert, but I think the underlying demand in the system is still high. But this is a short to medium term risk, absolutely. So but being able to say what would happen if the milk price hits $6.50, what would that mean to my cash flow? Can you answer those questions today? And with a product like Figured and capable advisors, you can do that very quickly.
Punch it in and it'll come and tell you straight away.
There you go, it will. So, and go, I've got this is where I'm a bit tight and I might have to change a few things. So just being able to get on top of that is quite important, right?
Be prepared for it.
Be prepared.
Be prepared for the whatever that you don't.
Yeah, rather than it'll be $7.50 and we're fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So now, I guess that's a classic example of now, as much as any time, this is more important than ever to get on top of these things.
Yeah, I do think it is, and I know this can sometimes sound like, well, here's another thing for you to worry about, on top of all these other things. But it's actually, if you worry about this one, if you spend a bit of time on this one, you can unlock freedom on the other ones, because the things you want to do for the environment, the things you want to do about managing the coronavirus potential, the things about getting access to capital, they're all liberated by having a better financial plan and being better financial managers.
So how do farmers find out more about Figured and whether they should be a part of it? If they're not already, they should be.
They all absolutely should be. Well, obviously we're running these some pilot workshops with our Dairy Women's Network and also with the cooperation of NZCA, which is a network of rural accountants around the country, and we're starting those off in 2 areas. So we'll be doing that in Timaru on the 3rd of March and in Rotorua on the 10th of March.
So is this the first of what planned to be as required?
Absolutely, but we're a type of company that we run something once or twice, test it, see what we can need to learn, and then we'll if they're successful, we'll absolutely be wanting to do more with those partners. We think they're fantastic. Yeah.
So what will someone get coming along to a workshop? What are they going to see, or what are they going to hear?
This will be really around the approach to financial management.
So basically what we've been discussing.
Exactly, yeah, how to start. And of course, in the room, of course, is Dairy Women's Network and themselves, which have been taking a strong interest in this area. There'll be an NZCA, so there'll be a qualified financial advisor with agri experience in the room to be able to say, here's the things you should be thinking about. So we're giving them a taste of what it's like to talk to an advisor more about that piece. And of course, we'll be there as well in Zero to sort of talk about here's the way the tools work and can come together to fulfil those things.
So you've got about 15,000. How many?
15,000 farms.
How many other farms are out there?
Oh well, there's plenty. But yeah, no, there's obviously more to come, but we've obviously got a pretty substantial base. But we do think even some people that are on Figured can use it better, and so that's another great thing as well.
Yeah, so it'd be actually just valuable just to enhance your knowledge.
And so I understand that Dairy Women's Network are fine for any type of farmer to come along to those. So it's not you don't have to be a dairy farmer or a member. I think it's.
Generally speaking, do you think farmers, they're on top of it in terms of their financial skills?
I don't know if there's one answer to that. Like all things, there's a bit of a band. We see generally the sort of 20% of farmers which are really onto it. They absolutely know where they know where they are today. They know where they're heading. They're regularly reviewing their financial performance. That's sort of, but I'd say it's about 20%. Then there's sort of 30 or 40 which are on that journey in some way, shape or form, and then there's actually another set who just go, I'll open a few, I'll concentrate on my farming, and as long as
I suppose that's the feeling. Well, if I'm working hard, I'm doing all the things, then I must be doing okay.
Or I'm doing as well as I can anyway, so what's the point of a plan? But actually there is a point of a plan, because it will give you that sort of forward-looking ability to go, well, actually, if this price is here, this is what it's going to mean, this is what it means for my cash flow. You answer those sort of questions.
So why now more than ever before is the option? You should be getting into it.
Yeah, well, I think so. I think we're facing, farmers are facing more and more pressures, and a lot of those pressures can be answered by investing in the right areas. They all require some form of investment, don't they? Time, money. So I understand how you're using your money is a big part of that. So I think the time is now, yeah.
And I think the other valid point here, of course, is that good planning means you're relieving the pressure on your mental health and everything else.
100%, 100%. And whenever I hear one of those terrible stories in farming, there's always an aspect of they were worried about it. They're worried about their financial performance.
Couldn't see a way out.
Couldn't see a way out. And I think farmers as a group want to provide. They want to be providers. That's what they do. And sometimes that means providing, the family with what they need. So the pressure's really on, but it needn't be. If they can get advice, get help, put a team around them.
Fantastic. So the websites, your one is
Figured.com. Yeah, there we go.
National one.
Hey, there you go. And obviously Dairy Women's Network is dwn.co.nz.
Yeah.
So go to either of those places, but particularly Dairy Women's Network has all of the details on these pilot workshops.
Well, Dave, great to chat.
Yeah,
Thanks very much for your time and appreciate that, and good luck with getting Figured to be a global superstar just like Zero.
Well, we're on the way. Yeah. We've started. Yeah, thank you.
Dave Dodds, who is the CEO of Figured in New Zealand and internationally. And that's our program. Another point of view at the same time next week. I hope you'll join us then. Have a good week.